Okay. Roll call.
Chair Gary Delvo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Matt Schuler.
Here.
Debbie Dean is excused. Alder Kathy Hinkles.
Here.
Steve Srubus. Melanie Parma is excused. And Renita Robinson is here. Yep.
And you can hear us, right? You need that?
Thumbs up.
Give me a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Steve and Mike, Matt, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, agenda is approved. Approval of minutes from February 11th.
Move to approve.
All right. Kathy, Alder Pincus, and Steve. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, we have a public hearing. Actually, we have 2 items for public hearing. Number 1 is consideration with possible actions to adopt a territory amendment resolution and amend the project plan for TID 5 East and West Downtown to remove parcel number 15-168-A from the TID 5 boundary.
Rebecca's actually out there, so I can take this one.
Yeah, please.
What we can do is I can give a presentation and then we can allow the public to provide comments.
Please.
All right, so this one is a fairly simple request to amend the territory of TID 5. This is one of our older TIF districts. It's actually set to terminate here later this year, next year in December. So this TIF district captures much of the downtown area on both sides of the river, actually. We have a project that's being proposed, One Astor, many of you might remember this, from serving on RDA back in 2019. That project stalled, unfortunately, when the developer at the time passed away. Another developer has come forward to try to bring that project back to life. And one of the unique things with this site is it's made up of 2 separate parcels. They need to combine those parcels for that project to proceed. One of those parcels is located within TID 5. The other parcel is located out of TID 5. When you have that kind of a situation, we're not able to actually proceed with the CSN to combine the parcels. So we need to go through this territory amendment to either remove a parcel or add a parcel. We're opting to remove. So that's all this request will do, is remove that parcel from TID 5 so that we can combine the 2, the developer can proceed. In full transparency, they have submitted a preliminary application for TIF assistance, which staff is reviewing now. So it's possible we'll be coming back in the near future with development agreements and potential request for the creation of a brand new separate TIF district to support that project. But that's all in the future. Today it's really just consideration for the amendments to remove that.
Is there any public input in regards to this agenda item? Is there any public input in regards to this agenda item? Is there any public input in regard to this agenda item? Okay, so close the hearing on that agenda item. And we really, we'll be making a motion on that, maybe? Yep, okay. Yep, under regular business, very good. Second agenda item, in regard to a public hearing. Consideration of possible action to adopt an allocation amendment resolution and amend the project plan for TID 12, I-43 Industrial Park, I-43 Industrial Park. What's you again, Matt?
Yep, it's me again. All right, so this request is an allocation amendment for TID 12. This is our I-43 Business Park TIF district on the east side of town. This is another one of our older districts. This is actually set to terminate here later this year in September. This request would be to allocate $3.7 million from TID 12, moving it to TID 22. That is our shipyard TIF district, kind of on the south side of Broadway. And then additionally allocating $2 million from TID 12 to TID 28. That's our JBS TIF district, one of our brand new TIDs that we created last year. The 3.7 for TID 12 would be allocated for property acquisition, future development incentives, infrastructure, and public amenities as may be needed throughout that TIF district or within 1/2 mile. And really for the purposes of blight elimination.
That's the Broadway district.
The Broadway, South Broadway Shipyard District, yes. You might recall here recently, the RDA and Common Council did approve a development agreement for the Drop Forge W. Hogan Company. Part of that agreement was acquisition of property within 1/2 mile of this TID, the State Street site. So this, moving of these funds would allow us to proceed with that acquisition. There's additional funds in here that we could use for additional property acquisition, should we need it, future development incentives, and then infrastructure. Looking at the $2 million that's proposed to go from TID 12 to TID 28, those funds would be allocated towards public infrastructure and park improvements for the JBS project. You know, you're all aware that we've got a pretty large project out there where building infrastructure, building roads, building a brand new park, and are supporting future development, multifamily and single family and townhomes. So those funds would be needed to help us complete the public infrastructure and park costs.
Any public input in regard to agenda item 2? Any public input in regard to agenda item 2? Any public input in regard to agenda item 2? If not, we will close the public hearing on 1 and 2. We'll go to our regular agenda. Very first thing on the regular agenda. Consideration of possible action to adopt a territory amendment resolution and amend project plan for TID 5 east and west downtown to remove parcel 15-168-A from the TID 5 boundary, which is part of the first public hearing.
Yes.
I'm sure that's that again. Rebecca's getting on that. She's getting skating here.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing. Okay, please.
No additional comments other than staff does recommend approval of this territory amendment. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I think it's a very exciting project.
And I'm assuming this just sets us up down the road, since that TID was about to expire, right? Hardly any time in it. There'd be no way to TIF finance out of TID 5 anymore.
Absolutely.
This allows that project to become eligible to do that.
Right.
We'd have to create a new TID there, I'm assuming, and all that, but at least it creates that option.
Yep, it's really that first step of just allowing the two parcels to get combined so that they can build on it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be legally able to build on a site that's separated by two different parcels.
Very unique.
So, and then adding another TID, would that just be for those parcels, or would you look at it along that waterfront, or?
To be determined.
Okay.
Creation of a new TIF district, we would consider down the road. There's potential to include additional parcels. It depends on, what kind of TIF district we would want to create. We could do probably a blight elimination TID possibly. There's a parcel on the other side of Mason to the east, former Baytown site that's vacant. It's a brownfield. It might make sense to include that one.
Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering, because there are areas over there that could use some assistance, and there isn't a TIF over there, so, okay.
Questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that for the territory amendment resolution and amendment project plan for TID 5 east and west downtown is presented.
Second.
Motion on that, second by Alder Hickes. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Consideration of possible action to adopt an allocation amendment resolution and amend the project plan for TID 12, I-43, which was by the second here. Yep.
Again, no additional presentation. I will share that the Joint Review Board did meet this morning on both of these amendment requests and did recommend proceeding forward with both.
Good.
So now the next step is obviously Redevelopment Authority, Council, and back to Joint Review Board. Happy to answer any questions you might have regarding these amendments.
What is very, very exciting. Absolutely. Very positive.
From a council perspective, we're gonna transfer $2 million into, or for the development of
So-
JBS, correct? Because I've got another thing on my agenda tonight to approve $700,000 for a barn, so is this all contingent on each other? I mean,
Well, I think in order for the entire project to proceed as proposed, additional funding would be needed. So this request, as well as the one tonight, would help both, would help the project get completed. As
right, but I'm
proposed.
wondering if this,
If this
if
doesn't.
my 700 tonight is contingent on this 2 million.
It's
I
not.
don't,
Who said it's not?
It may-
Oh, good, thank you. I looked that way, so,
Yeah, it's an ARPA request, the one tonight,
okay,
and this is obviously TIF funding.
okay, all right. Just, I've never had this come up like this, so.
And I know, or I recall, right, we had done some stuff with the TIDs, and I think TID 12 was involved with this, where, did we allocate some money from that for TIDA?
I don't believe we have yet.
Not for Dada. When we closed out TID 4, we moved, on the last year, you have an extension and you can move those dollars into the affordable housing.
Okay,
So we will look and probably entertain the same thing when this one closes in '26.
okay, so that would be down. the
Yep, another
road.
year to two
Okay.
from now.
So no impact on that, at least as we're sitting here today. Okay.
Can I finish that? The only thing you can use for an affordable housing extension is that year's increment. You can't take what's left in a fund balance, it's only that year's increment. So anything that's sitting in there now has no impact on the affordable housing until the year of the extension.
So it wouldn't impact the amount that could be allocated over to affordable housing? It's only the final year's?
Increment, correct. When you do the extension, that year's increment is what you would use for affordable housing.
Well, if we do this 50 more years, I might get it. I might have all the...
By then, the rules will
I
change.
need to get it.
But there's always some new wrinkle, right, every time?
Different way to stack it.
Different ways. Okay.
Questions or comments regarding the agenda item? If not, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Steve,
I'll second it.
Steve and Matt, questions or comments in regard to the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. I was gonna talk about this later, but we should probably get an update on all our kids again, like, you know, every year, did we do that, Dear? But actually, whenever you do that report, since you know, I don't want you to double work, but just a quick recap again.
The report is due May 1st.
Okay, that'd be perfect. Thank you. Agenda item-
You always say that, probably right about March or April.
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
year.
I try hard. Anyway, number 3, consideration of possible action on the First Amendment to Development Agreement 17-02, Rail Yard North and DDL Holdings LLC. All right, and that is, Schwack. And
Matt?
and Matt.
Do you want me to tee it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Sure. So, back in 2017, the RDA and Common Council approved a development agreement with the ADL Holdings for the Rail Yard North developments, as you see here on the map. So, the developer has come forward and working with staff, we've identified the need to make some updates to that development agreement. I'm going to take it from here.
Yeah, so as the staff report kind of lines out, there's some changes to the scope of the project, obviously adjusting timelines. Values, guaranteed values are all staying the same. And then additionally wanted to capture some additional provisions that were briefly articulated in the master development agreement, or in the original agreement, but not fully, fully vetted out and fully detailed in a way that was going to be workable and clear for all the parties involved. So those two things really are the future project grants, and then also how pay-go is going to be calculated based on base value and appropriate carve-out reductions for additional projects that are going online within that master parcel area.
See the developers
Yes,
here?
and the developer and
Did we,
council are here too, if you have any questions for them. And we do have closed session language. I know this is a big project, and
Yes.
we've been working a long time.
Unknown caller.
To try and get to this amendment. So if there's any more kind of detailed questions that RDA would like to have, you know, we certainly can go into closed session, but it's
Right.
entirely up to your
I
discretion.
think we should open up the meeting and hear from the developer.
Sure.
First of all,
Mhm.
motion to.
Open the
Steve?
floor.
Oh.
Second.
Okay. Alderman Minkus and Matt, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Please give us your perspective, please.
Yeah, thank you. You want me to go up to the?
Yeah, please.
I was usher in church.
Great job. Dave DeWick, legal counsel for the developer with Hagen, DeWick and Zengler. I guess first of all, I just want to, this goes back to 2017, like Matt had indicated, and I don't want to take up everybody's time on rehashing what's all happened over the last almost 8 years, but I think first of all, a thank you out to the staff for all the hard work that everybody's put in over the last, well, at least 6 months, if not longer, right? And there's, over the years that we started this in 2017 with, so many of you guys might remember Kevin Vonk and Vanessa Chavez, and then, the concept at the time was this master development agreement concept, which I think at the time was the first of its kind. It was new to everybody. I think the concepts were sound, and the concepts are reflected in the original agreement, but like Joanne said, they need to be built out. As time went on, we realized, hey, we need to drill down on some of these details to reflect exactly what the parties' intentions were. As we moved on and brought, additional development in and additional developers in, and then, we had these additional development agreements come online as well. So, I think, like I said, I think it works, and I would hope staff would agree with us on that. I think it all works. And there was reasons for the delays in 2019 when we had a meeting with Kevin and Vanessa, and we were trying to drill down on some of the details. There was shortly some turnover in staff shortly after that. Then, of course, COVID, and we all know that delayed things a couple years at a minimum. Then TWG came online with a couple projects. The most recent one was end of 2019, and then there was the delays because of COVID, and then some other issues on their end. And then ultimately, a new development agreement for TWG was executed between the city and TWG and the DDL Holdings in 2022, August of 2022. And then, so fast forwarding from August of 2022, there have been ongoing discussions with staff over, again, trying to get this to the goal line, right? So thankfully, we're there, and I think staff agrees, and as Joanne mentioned, these really are clarification type of changes. There were a couple provisions that were added, we think, to the benefit of both parties, and that's the pilot provision, which now, offers an opportunity to the developer and to the city to make sure that those taxes are paid if the guaranteed minimum assessed values aren't met. And then there was another provision added for the benefit of the city, allowing the city to, and the RDA to basically suspend project grant payments if the developer is not complying with the terms of the development agreement. And again, then some clarifications like Joanne had mentioned in a lot of the provisions. So again, I think this works for everybody. We're here to answer any questions. There's been a lot of hard work put in, and we would like to finally get this across the goal line and so to speak, do a tush push
at the end here, so
Those
any,
are illegal now.
what's that?
Those are illegal now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so any questions, we're here to answer them.
Joanne, did you say all the values are staying the same?
The guaranteed values were staying the same, but the amount of units, the projected units, were going down. And so, clearly, we kind of had some concerns, if the number of units was going down, how could the value stay the
Right,
same?
right.
But the developer feels very confident that they're going to be able to hit those values, and an assurance that they provided that we have in the development agreement is that pilot provision, right? So if they don't, if the values don't, meet the threshold that they're supposed to, the developer will pay the basically what's remaining, right? What's kind of an underpayment to be able to reach the increment level that would have been generated by the guaranteed minimum assessed value. So that kind of provides an insurance provision or safety
Very
net for the
important,
city. Yeah.
That last part is very important.
Yes, yes.
And it also looks like condos possibly change in versus apartment buildings.
Yeah, I think that really goes to the market, right, and what's being dictated, as any development that size, right, it's,
Right.
particularly when it takes time, and, the market changes and demands change, and so, yeah.
We haven't had
yeah,
condos come through in a long time, so.
Yeah.
And maybe this is best for you, but could someone just run me through what's left? Like, what is the contemplated development yet on that footprint? Because there's a lot of stuff that's been done, and there's some things there, and I'm sure, then there's the things you're contemplating yet, and I couldn't look at that map and say, here's where stuff's going and what's gonna be there, and I'd love to understand that.
Yeah, I can step up, Paul can, can certainly provide details, but Paul, my understanding is that you have this corner here, right? And then
Correct.
along this northern boundary of the property, just south of Bond Street, and there's some other...
And then coming back on Driver,
And then coming back down here.
correct.
So
And
you have
then
this
the
L-shaped-
expansion to the north of the existing 8-unit condos,
down
south
here.
there, south in the plan sets.
Yeah. Down here, Paul?
See, this is where it's really dangerous for the
Yeah.
attorney, right?
Yeah. I'll turn it over to the developer, I'll just step back.
This is where that existing 8-unit
Okay.
condo is. And then, so this land here was meant to be for expansion of more of those condos. We built 8 of them and sold 2, and we still own the other 6. So I don't think you're gonna see condos
Okay.
coming through anytime soon. Part of this development, this is 8-unit townhome, 6-unit townhome. I would think that this would make sense with residential, to continue that, and I don't want to shift our outcome, with there's 2 families that invested significantly in some homes there.
Yep.
So I want to make sure that we're doing right by them as well.
But is this contemplating, like you just kind of drove out that piece there, Paul, and it didn't sound like there's a firm plan.
The only, this 1702 development agreement was right here. And then those 8 condos.
Okay, then I'm not sure, then I'm kind of unclear on what we're amending here.
It really goes to, we're amending the makeup to reflect, I guess, what's there already to some extent, right? And then these future projects that are gonna come online, which within that footprint, right, Paul? North of Kellogg, essentially? I mean,
Within the entire footprint.
yeah, within the entire footprint,
Future
yeah.
project grants.
Yeah, so it would include those areas that Paul just had delineated.
But Matt, the original, that $16 million aggregate assessed value
Yep.
was based on those existing Larson Canning buildings
Yeah.
Okay.
that had been renovated. Anything beyond that is called a future project in this agreement.
Right, right.
Questions or comments with regard to, for the developer?
I think
Steve, anybody?
the 3
In a nutshell,
extension of
it's
the
almost
Yeah, yeah.
reduction by half of the number of units, but a pilot to accommodate the difference, should there be any. Seems pretty straightforward.
The value is key.
Right.
The other thing, if I could just interject for a minute, and Paul pointed out, reminded me, you'll see we advanced some of these dates from the original development agreement, and the reason for that was the extension of the TID. The TID was extended an additional 3 years as part of, discussions with TWG.
And so this whole TID has been extended?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have these property values already been reached, or is there additional construction that needs to be done to get there?
Well, I think, Matt, I think just a little background on that. When this development agreement was entered into in 2017, I think all sides were projecting values that, at the end of the day, because of how, the assessments came out, whether it be due to construction costs increasing or whatever the case might be, that, the actual assessments fell a little bit short of the anticipated assessments, right? So we haven't changed, going to Joanne's point, we haven't changed the guaranteed minimum assessed values, and we're going to cover that difference in the form of a pilot. But, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, there's going to be some additional work to get to that 16 million?
There has been.
Yeah.
Like the paper transport building hasn't
Right.
been reassessed yet for last year's work, and that'll
Yeah.
continue next year yet
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. But we're confident we're going to get to that 16 million as it relates to the projects that we're responsible for. It doesn't account for the TWG, what they're responsible for under their development agreement.
And is there a timeline on when that will be fully built out?
There's a timeline for reaching the values, right?
Yeah.
So by, looking forward by 2026, it should assess at 14.9 million. And then by 2027, it should be 16 million.
Yeah. I can say this, just knowing from working with Paul, that the developer's constantly, soliciting interest and looking to maximize value for everybody, by developing that, those areas that still can be developed, and so it's just to everybody's benefit, plus with the pay-go component to it, I think it motivates the developer to, to get this fully developed sooner than later.
Mr. Mayor, or Matt, or Cheryl? Anybody add?
Just kind of wanted Paul to weigh in a little bit. Mentioned PTI, and I think the RDA is probably familiar with generally what's going on there, but I think it's a nice story for people to be more familiar with. So I was just curious, like what the status of the build out is and when you think that'll be completed.
Paper transport is in the process of leaving what we would call their temporary space, moving their equipment into their new space, which is the second floor of 540 North Broadway. Right now, they've got their employees back at their highway location. There's some kind of exciting things that could happen for downtown Green Bay in the next couple of years, just with leases out there and things like that, that could continue to grow the relationship. They're bringing brokerage and logistics first.
Okay. And when will you be ready to welcome them into that space?
It's ready. They have occupancy.
Oh, great.
They're just, I think just in the last couple of weeks, all of their cubicles and all that got moved down there.
Oh, nice.
That's good news.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Any other questions for the developer? If not, I'll make a motion. I entertain a motion to go back to the regular business. All the thinkers?
Second.
Second by Matt. All the thinkers, saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are back to regular order of business. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for your comments. All right. I think there are a couple of key things here. One is that the values, we have a lot of thinking of values, even though there's going to be less construction or less buildings. And we've got a couple of goals, 2026, 2027.
The two unique pieces, I think, of the development agreement is the base value kind of carve-out provision, and the point of that is, obviously, the entire parcel, right, is valued at $3-some million. And then as additional projects come online and those get carved out with their own base value, essentially what it's doing is it's taking that base value and subtracting it off of the main parcel because it's part of like I was calling it the mother parcel or the mothership.
Yes.
And that is how PAYGO is calculated, right? So any reduction in that base value then kind of increases capacity for PAYGO for the developer, which obviously allows for more progression in the development of the project. And then second is this concept of these future project grants. I know the RDA has been familiar with upfront grants where we give, incentive financial assistance upfront, usually by way of a bond, which we did do for this project. So this project does have debt service, which needs to be covered by the increment as a priority. But this operates on the back end and essentially operates as an additional incentive that if collectively all of the projects, so right now, the master projects plus, the lofts and the fort, if all of those in totality exceed whatever the guaranteed minimums are for that year by $1 million, then a $100,000 grant can be given to the developer upon their application. So it's only, $1 million over, you get 100,000. If it's over by 5 million, you get 500,000, right? But all that is supported by the increment because if the projects really are valuating that high, the assessed value is obviously generating that increment and then going back to the developer for qualified expenditures and obviously further development of the project. So those are the two kind of, as Dave spoke about how this master development agreement was kind of the first of its kind. These were the two concepts as well, particularly the future project grant that's unique. Yep. We haven't done that before. And that's what we really spent a lot of time trying to suss that out to make sure that it was going to work moving forward.
Deanna, you comfortable with this?
Yes, and I think the thing I was going to add to that, I think it's just, I don't want to overlook, is that like in 2017, the base value for that parcel, it was like $3.9 million, or almost $4 million was the base value. In 2024, base value is at about $21 million. And when the fort comes online with a projection, it's going to be at about $44.8 million in 2025. So going from, $4 million to $45 million from 2017 to 2025, all on that same parcel within that red square. So I'm very comfortable with the agreement as presented.
Steve?
Well, so I wasn't here in 2017. The original 40 units, the intentions was market rate.
Yes, owner occupied, yes, market rate.
Okay.
And still remaining market, yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Just to reinforce real quickly what Diana was saying,
Yes.
right? And those
Yes.
with long memories will remember what the alternative proposal was essentially back then, right? The Walmart
Oh, yeah.
Supercenter, which
Oh, yeah.
was in the neighborhood of, 10 million
Mm-hmm.
valuation?
Yep.
So sizably different,
Right.
to the positive for the city of Green Bay.
Absolutely.
So, appreciation to DDL and Base and Paul and Dave and the whole team for everything that they've executed over there.
Absolutely.
I'll make the motion.
Holder,
Second.
Pincus, make the motion, a second by Matt. Questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Great comment, Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely right, I remember that well.
I'm sure you all do. Before my time, but.
Okay,
Press Gazette had a field day.
yes, they did. Agenda item number 4, consideration of possible action to approve a 30-day extension to planning option with Green Bay Habitat for Humanity for the sites located at 1216 South Broadway, 1319 South Broadway, and 1321 South Broadway. And that is...
I'll take that
Rhonda,
one.
please.
Yep. So last month, we had brought forward a consideration for a planning option for Habitat, and it was actually 6 parcels that we were looking at. In between that time, staff has sat down with Habitat and went over the designs that they had originally sent to us, how we could create a little bit more density there. After that meeting, they've decided that they're going to move forward with these 3 parcels, but they wanted to have an additional 30 days just to revise those designs based on the staff meeting that we had with them. So they're just asking for an extension to that planning, 30-day extension to that planning option.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Moved by Steve, Alder Incas, and second by Steve. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Thanks very much. Number 5, consideration with possible action on an additional community housing development organization. Chodo?
Chodo.
Chodo. Chodo. Funding request for neighborhood merchant.
Pretty liberal with vowels there.
Let's see. Anyways, funding request from Neighborhood Works Green Bay to build 4 affordable housing units at the site located at 400 block of 4th Street, parcel 2-176, 2-177, 2-178, 2-178A for a multiple family development. And that's Will. Please.
Thank you, Gary. All right, so NeighborWorks Green Bay came to the RDA back in June requesting assistance of $232,000 for their townhome developments on 4th Street, which is going to be 7 units, 4 of which were going to be affordable, so made available to income qualified homeowners. Since that time, they've experienced construction costs overruns to approximately $71,566.72 per unit. So really right now their new gap, because of the increase in construction costs, is $286,266.88. NeighborWorks Green Bay is requesting to access the Community Housing Development Organization funds that we have set aside of $127,000 to help fill some of that gap due to those construction cost overruns.
And have you looked at the construction cost overruns? Are you comfortable that they're legit?
They're legit, and we have David here from NeighborWorks Green Bay. We can certainly open up the floor if you'd like to ask questions specific to some of the overruns that they've experienced.
Because didn't we add 25,000 to each unit because of those cost overruns like over a year ago?
Right now, as far as city funding, to date, we have $232,000 of home funds into that project.
This Chodo funding is also money that's set aside for organizations that qualify to
Right.
be a Chodo. NeighborWorks is looking for, it's really kind of like money taped for them.
You want to open up the meeting? Or did you-
I'd love to open it up for just a
Yeah.
couple questions.
Absolutely.
Second.
A motion by Matt, a second by Alder Incas.
Sure.
All in favor, signify with aye.
Aye.
Please, give us a little background on that.
Sure, Will did a good job of outlining it for us, and if you happen to be driving by there, we did just break ground on the 2-unit portion of the project. So we are, we are $71,000 over. We had a pro forma built back in June where we came to the board in the first place, and since then we were anticipating some escalations as of January 1st, and we certainly saw those based on materials and labor costs. So the request that we're making today is reflective of the 4 units that are affordable, and we're applying it to the 2 units that are currently under construction. So about $71,000 per unit over.
What was the total construction cost per unit?
Per unit, the revised, I have it right here, if you'll make sure I get it right. Total hard construction costs as they sit today is $295,000 per unit. And we are looking at a market, or looking at putting them on the market for about $260 to $265, which is kind of in the ballpark of our most recent sales.
That's a huge percentage miss.
Part of it is a miss because of the time frame, right? We got it all approved back in April and May, and now we're here in April again. So the time is what has been our biggest disadvantage.
And what happens if we don't approve these funds?
Well, the project is coming out of the ground for the 2-unit one there. If they don't get approved, then we'll have to make other arrangements. But we're committed to the property for sure, and we're committed to the project.
Did you bid this out?
Yeah, we went through all of our typical procurement requirements. We And this project has been in the works, you'll remember, it for about 2.5 to 3 years. So it's taken us this long to get to this point. So yes, we had 3 bidders online. We actually have redesigned it 2 times over the course of that just to get it to a marketable solution. And we feel like the development costs we have today are where, as far as we can take it, I guess.
What's your personal feelings about the construction group?
My personal.
Are these costs legit?
Oh, yeah, they're legit. We're working with it was bid to 3 different bidders, and the awarded bidder was, he's a general contractor, semi-retired, and he's worked with our team on other projects in the past. It's Paul Vandehey, Custom Homes, and he's fully committed. He's actually donating a good amount of his time and labor to the project just to get it to be as viable as it is today. So, and just a little side note, like he said, we're coming back before this board. When we first got our revised numbers back a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, the project was in jeopardy, right? We were considering all options, and then this option of a Chodo request came up, and that's where we put it in motion.
So just kind of ballparking this, and as we think through future projects as well, and obviously this is a moving puck, what is your construction cost per square foot going to average out to?
Hard cost for this development right now, it's about $175 a square foot for construction hard cost.
Okay.
Which
doesn't sound that bad.
No, it's not bad at all. I think it's pretty
Does
competitive.
that mean we were like $90 a square foot from an estimate standpoint?
If you take 20, we had a 24% increase, so 24% of 175, about 130 maybe.
Thank you.
Sure.
Cheryl, any comments?
You know, it's a project we've worked on for a long time. I mean, we've worked with them through the process, so they've got a good contractor. This Chodo money is designated for Neighborworks. They're choosing to use it on this project.
How much Chodo is there? And does all of that go to Neighborworks?
So there's
Okay.
Yes.
127,785 that we have total right now set aside for community housing development organizations, which NeighborWorks Green Bay is one that they're eligible for. There is a certain percentage of our annual allocation that we can set aside each year for community housing development organizations. So this pot of funds will replenish, but with this request, if approved, it would virtually wipe out what they have remaining until that is replenished again with the next allocation.
When will that allocation come up?
That would be those monies would first come available later August, September.
That's federal money. Good luck figuring
Well,
that
that's,
one out.
that was going to be my next question now. Is that state or federal?
That's federal.
Our expectation is
Yes. We can only be optimistic, really, with that everything is going to stay as it was as far as our allocation amounts and be on schedule.
Not just the vowels you'll need to be liberal with at that point.
But obviously, when we can't, these are challenging times to be in right now with development. In some respects, there's somewhat a sense of helplessness, right? Because we don't control the market as far as, what construction companies are charging and labor and costs and materials. But what's been really important throughout this whole process of this development is just the open communication and transparency NeighborWorks Green Bay has had with us. They've been with us at the table every step of the way as far as issues that have arose or challenges. And so this is one that not just NeighborWorks Green Bay is committed to, but the city of Green Bay as well. And we just want to help get this project off the ground.
Any other questions for NeighborWorks? We need a motion to go back to regular order of business. Thank you.
Thanks.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Alderman Nichols. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're back to regular order of business. All right.
They open bid this. They open bid this. The cost seems pretty in line with construction of residential. Nothing jumped out at me here.
Well, and NeighborWorks has been a great partner of ours and all of the homes and that I've watched over the years. So I would make a motion, especially if these are funds that we technically are allocated, that we move forward and approve.
Second.
Steve, yeah, Alder, motion by Alder Hinkes, second by Steve. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So moved, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Number 6, consideration and possible action on the proposed update to the commercial facade building materials grant policy.
That is me.
Hey, there you are. Hey, how you doing?
So we have been working on our facade grant, that's how we shorten it. You may be familiar with this program, we've had it for quite a while. We kind of took a pause on the block grant program because it was funded through ARPA for the past few years. So we are bringing it back through Community Development Block Grant and allocating $90,000 towards this program. So this is for commercial properties, local businesses, to help them do exterior renovations, enhancements to their buildings. So this is a materials grant, so it helps pay for materials only through this version of the grant that we're doing. And the funds are available right now through the annual action plan. So we have been working on the policy, and we are proposing to change it from what we've done in years past is when applications come in and a staff reviews it, then we will have a recommendation and we'll come to the RDA. And these grants have varied from somewhere from like $5,000 to $20,000, and we accept applications on a rolling basis. So they're coming in, whenever an applicant is ready. So it's not like we have strict deadlines or, a period of like 30 days that we're accepting. So we kind of accept them all year round. So we are proposing to just accept them and approve them internally with Cheryl's approval, the development director, instead of bringing each one forward to the Redevelopment Authority. So that would be kind of just a process where we already have a design review team, and that's staff, and then when it's in a business improvement district, we'll have a representative from there, and we've included the score sheet and the policy in your packet. So we do the scoring, have a recommendation, and keep in communication with the applicant throughout the whole process too. So they hear from us through pretty much every stage of the review. So this would just stay like that, have it approved through staff and development director.
Could you give us a little history on how much this facade program has been used?
So we do get a lot of applications per year, and it really varies, and we have had changes to the low to moderate income areas, the census tract. So we have kind of a big change that will be happening this year, because we have gotten a lot of, in the past, downtown businesses that have applied, and at this time, a lot of downtown is not in an LMI area right now. So, but other areas have been opened up throughout the city that have businesses that are now eligible because of that. So in the past, I'm not sure exactly how many we've gotten per year. It really varies. But it's always been a really successful program. We've been able to spend a lot of the funds that we've allocated toward it each year. And then with the ARPA program, I think it got a lot of buzz. So even returning to this materials grant, there's been a lot of interest already.
Good, very good.
Is there a max?
We have not set a max. Like I said, it's kind of varied. Some of our larger grants have been over 20,000. But we try to, if someone comes in asking for a high amount beginning of the season, we kind of, consider, okay, well, we anticipate more people applying, so we're not going to, spend half of our fund on one application. So that's usually how it is. No, it's not capped necessarily.
Does this have to go through council?
No.
No? Okay.
Jeff, any comments in regards to downtown off the news?
No, I would really just echo what Aaron is saying about the usefulness of it. And a number of properties in the Main Street District have had upgrades, particularly in the Old Town Crossing building. We have an office building on Walnut Street, right across from downtown Auto, that is a recipient. And it's already having an impact on the recruitment of that space. So I am hearing from tenants who want to be in that building, they saw the design plan, and it's a nice upgrade. And I also value that a colleague of mine, our Director of First Impressions, is able to participate and offer input in some of those grant applications. So it's really very good collaboration with our departments.
Excellent, thank you. Questions or comments in regard to the agenda item?
Comment only.
Yep.
Not looking to change rules. But completely supportive of the motion. Would love it to be, the kind of thing that not goes to one thing a year, that gets spread out across multiples, would be my preference. But, as soon as I would then say, oh, let's cap this at, the authorities at 35,000, and the next thing you know, a great project comes in, it's 57. So I don't want to do that to hamstring it. That's kind of my intent on it, that it's more dispersed than, one single project in a year.
If I remember correctly, don't they have to have 50%? We support 50% of the materials, something like that?
So that was with the ARPA. We had, we would do 75 and they would do 25, but that was including installation. Now this is just materials. So a lot of the cost is the labor. So they're handling the labor and we would handle materials.
Okay.
Or at least a portion, what the program can fund.
So the specific grants is so that it doesn't come to this body, it just stops it.
We go to like an interior design review team.
So you have a team, and then you have the final say.
Right.
But right now, you have a
Check
team, you have a say, and then it comes here.
Right, every one of them would have to come here and check.
And on that team, are there external, like Jeff or anybody?
Yes, so it can be
Okay.
a representative from the bid, yeah.
Okay.
The rest is internal.
That's a good idea. Very good.
I mean, if the high end of these things is 20 grand, I don't see any reason why we couldn't stop this at Cheryl. That said, I'd still like to see the cool stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Would you like us to report out on the facade program?
Well, yeah, I mean, if
So you can
you
see.
could bake it into the
Yes.
director's report.
Sure.
You know, at your discretion, of course. I'm not sure we need to see the $5,000 ones. Right?
Maybe.
Right, yeah.
If they're cool.
I mean, there's been a lot done on Broadway too that I remember that we
Yes.
approved with the Burger Company. I mean, they're the fun things.
Yeah, that block.
Right, like it's cool.
Yeah.
I like cool stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I mean, with that little caveat, I'd make the motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Matt. Questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Aaron.
We
Okay.
didn't have to add anything to the motion about the report, okay.
No, report out on the directors.
Okay,
Spread the love.
Yeah, the pictures.
I looked at the financial report, I don't have any questions. Our check register, if anybody else does. Nope. Director's report, please.
So we sent our latest update to you in the packet. I got an email today from Peter Nugent. He tells me they're about ready to present out their construction timeline. This is the Cherry Street project downtown.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
General contractor wants to start the work in May, and then approximately 15 months construction schedule for delivery in early fall of '26. So things are moving in
Yes.
that project, which is good.
Absolutely.
We can be able to get around downtown.
Sure. A little bit slower maybe, but it's all temporary.
We like
Great.
cranes. We like cranes.
Yeah.
You worry about getting around Lambeau first.
That's
right.
The first one.
Right.
Cheryl, did you say begin possibly May?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding.
So I would think demo
Yes.
is probably going to start relatively quickly. We're looking at construction starting.
That is
Anything else for us?
Nope.
It's pretty self-explanatory, right? Absolutely, thank you. Jeff, you'd like to add anything?
Nothing to report.
Okay, Leah, she's on, is she?
Yep, she's on. She just had a big thing in the paper this weekend.
Leah?
Big expose.
What did I have in the paper?
There's a big expose on the work you're doing on military,
Oh, I think that was a while ago.
or maybe the week before. It was recent.
I saw it too. It was-
Yeah.
Oh, I better look at that.
It's pretty awesome.
Geez, yeah. Yeah, nothing to report, still trying to plan for draft stuff.
Oh, yeah, oh, boy.
Information from NFL comes in pretty slowly, so it just makes it difficult to plan things, but
Yes.
we're plugging away.
Exciting. I don't think Brooke's on, is she? No. Okay. Mr. Mayor, is there anything you want to add?
Nothing big, other than thanks to our team in particular.
Yeah.
Been very, very productive. Spent
Absolutely.
a lot of time and effort on these agreements.
Absolutely.
And some sad news for us, I don't know if this has been spread around to RDA yet, but our wonderful city attorney, Joanne Bungert, is going to be leaving us.
Oh, no.
So Joanne has done a fantastic job on all kinds
Absolutely.
of fronts, but especially, I think she really shines with business law and some of these development agreement negotiations. She spent a lot of time and expertise, and only, to the city's benefit. So really appreciate everything that she's done for us, and I figured you all would want to
Absolutely.
say goodbye to
Oh
her
my
as
God,
well.
yes.
So unfortunately, last RDA meeting, I think.
This is the last RDA?
Yeah.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about your plans.
Well, I'm going down south a little bit to the city of De Pere.
4 miles down the road.
Yes.
Similar position?
Yes, the city attorney's spot, yeah.
Well, let me tell you about the cast of characters you're going to be working with. I think there's time to change your mind. That Andy Cran.
Better recording, yeah.
I want him to hear that.
Yeah, so, thank you, I
Excellent
appreciate
job.
it. No, It's been
Fantastic
an honor,
work.
thank you very much.
Anything else? If not, motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
All of the interest, and that, all fair and everything aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. The next meeting is April 8th. Yes, that's why, we're going to be aggressive.
Yes.
All right, thanks, folks.
Recording's done.
Thank you.